Traveling to new places can be exciting and adventurous, but sometimes things can go horribly wrong. These disturbing true travel horror stories are a testament to that fact. From being stranded in remote locations to encountering terrifying creatures and disturbed individuals, these travelers found themselves in situations they never could have imagined. In today's video, we will be showing you disturbing true travel horror stories. Without further ado, let's begin. Finding ourselves in a notoriously dangerous part of town at midnight and during a blackout in Nassau, Bahamas. A dark and dangerous place at night. We've been warned this part of Nassau was potentially dangerous at night. We'd been in the Bahamas for a few weeks, renting an Airbnb at Cable Beach, just outside Nassau. One evening, my husband and I had traveled into town on a jitney bus to meet with a couple of new tourist friends we'd met earlier that day. We'd arranged to meet for dinner and drinks at the famous Arawak fish fry area, a strip of beachside seafood restaurants and street food stalls offering local foods that are a famous tourist attraction. We ended up staying out much longer than we'd intended. We were having fun and found a bar with a nice vibe. Seeing he had lots of pots and pans and cooking paraphernalia in the back of his truck, and that he was obviously a street food vendor at the fish fry, we gratefully accepted. As he dropped us off on the road where we were staying, his passing comment and instruction as we thanked him profusely for his kindness and offered him some cash for his fuel and inconvenience that he refused to accept, was to suggest to us that if we ever saw him lost and in the wrong place in our country, that we would also stop to help him out. Thinking we might be kidnapped in Central America, I knew something was wrong. I had goosebumps. My heart was racing. We'd arrived in Central America late at night on a planned layover flight into a city with a notorious reputation for being potentially dangerous, especially at night. I'd pre-arranged by email for our hotel to send out a car for us. Top travel tip: if you are unfamiliar with the place you are arriving, particularly at night, and you're not sure of the route to your hotel, then do pre-arrange with your hotel to send out a car or taxi to meet you. Ask for the driver to hold up a card with your name on it to avoid you having to get into an unknown car at airport arrivals. After arriving at our hotel and after checking in, we walked a short distance to a nearby fast food restaurant for something to eat. The driver of the car looked right at me, and for some strange reason I still can't fully explain, I felt spooked. The man came inside the restaurant. He glanced at the menu and then deliberately looked our way once more. Once again, I happened to catch eye contact with him. When the man went back to his car and I saw him still glancing our way and talking on his mobile phone, I took my hungry husband's hand and insisted that we were leaving immediately. We hurried back to our hotel and locked ourselves in our room. It's not completely unheard of for tourists to get kidnapped and held for ransom in some parts of Central America. We'll never know if the danger that I instinctively felt was real or imagined. I'm glad we never had to find out. Dealing with a drunk taxi driver in Asia. We could both smell alcohol. It seemed to be coming strongly from the driver. We just flown into a big city in Southeast Asia that we visited many times before, and so we felt confident about taking a registered airport taxi to our hotel. Only after climbing into the back seat of the taxi did my husband and I both sniff the air at the same time and looked at each other. We could both smell alcohol. It seemed to be coming strongly from the driver. This time, it was my backpacking husband who acted instinctively. He said no, stop to the driver, and turning to me he said, "Okay, we are getting out." Lesson learned. Don't feel embarrassed about asserting yourself and putting your safety first in a compromising situation. Trust yourself. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Bus going off with our backpacks in Mexico. This is a story that we laugh about now, but when it happened, it was quite stressful. We were backpacking in Mexico, having flown into Cancun and traveled by public bus along the coast, spending some time in Playa del Carmen, heading over to the island of Cozumel on a ferry for a few days, then heading back to the mainland and continuing by bus onto Tulum, set on seeing the famous Mayan ruins there. When we identified our stop just outside Tulum and our hotel just across the street, we alerted the bus driver to stop the bus and let us off. The problem was that as soon as we had stepped down off the bus, he continued on without allowing us to collect our backpacks from the luggage compartment under the bus. Tarantula in the bed in the Caribbean. We came home to find an enormous and hairy tarantula spider crawling on our bed. We'd been on a small island in the Caribbean for a week and rented a small house in a tropical garden. There were beautiful flowers and plants everywhere, and trees laden with bananas and cashews and coconuts. But unknown to us, this is a perfect habitat for the tarantula spider. So of course, not long after staying in the house, we came home to find an enormous and hairy tarantula spider crawling on our bed. I will admit to you that my heart was pounding because back then I didn't know if these types of spiders are poisonous or not. In fact, I've since learned they are not poisonous, but they are known to fire their hairs at you as a defense mechanism when they are afraid. Feeling very afraid myself, I dashed next door to alert our landlady, who sent her rather amused husband to extract the spider on our behalf, while telling us that he used to keep a tarantula spider as a pet when he was a child. In our bedroom, he approached the huge hairy beast with a broom onto which it dutifully crawled, before he put it back out into the garden. Lesson learned. If you are faced with local wildlife, try and find a local person willing to come and help you deal with it. Scorpion in the shower in Honduras. I looked down to see a black scorpion showering with me. While in Honduras, Central America, I was horrified to be told by a new friend I'd met there how she had recently been hanging her washing outside when she'd been stung on the hand by a small black scorpion. She described the pain as horrific and like being struck by a hammer. Her hand was horribly swollen, and she said she was still in a great deal of pain. I didn't scream. I froze. I stood completely motionless, waiting for the hammer of pain to hit me or the scorpion to climb off my foot. Luckily, it moved away and disappeared into a small crevice in the corner of the shower base. Lesson learned. I knew I wasn't in danger of death from a scorpion sting, but I was in danger of experiencing extreme pain. I now feel it's perhaps a good idea to be forewarned and acquire some knowledge of any dangerous local wildlife while traveling to tropical places so that you can assess the level of danger you might be facing. The haunted hotel room. A couple checked into a hotel in Thailand and were given a room on the top floor. That night, they were awakened by strange noises and saw a ghostly figure in their room. The next morning, they asked the hotel staff about the incident, only to be told that no one had stayed on the top floor for years, and the room they had been given was supposed to be haunted. The creepy hostel roommate. A traveler checked into a hostel in Amsterdam and was assigned to a room with 3 other people. One of the roommates, a man who seemed friendly at first, began to act increasingly strange as the night went on. He would stare at the other guests and mutter to himself. The traveler eventually left the hostel in the middle of the night out of fear for their safety. The abandoned town. A group of friends were traveling through the Australian outback when they stumbled upon an abandoned town. The buildings were all in disrepair and there were no signs of life. As they explored further, they found a mass grave with no explanation as to what had happened. They quickly left the town, never to return. So guys, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. For more interesting content, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Have a nice day, and I will see you in the next video.